One of the things that causes weakness of iman is staying away from an iman nourishing environment for too long. Will cause you to fall into sin, because sin was one of the things that weakened the iman. For instance, if you're sitting in the house of Allah Azza wa Jal, how many times do you think about sinning? Very little. Your mind is not thinking about disobeying Allah. You're almost in Jannah, almost in some instances. But the moment you go home and you start kicking it on Facebook and you're on Xbox Live or PS3 network, and you're shooting people all day long and kicking footy around and things of this nature, what happens? You start thinking about disobeying Allah. Shaitan comes to you and you start getting into that mode and that environment. And the longer you stay away from the environment that nourishes iman, the weaker you will become. This is why, for such a long time, the ulama made hijrah mandatory. You have to understand why. They made it mandatory because they knew if the Muslims stay away from the environment of Islam for too long, that they will lose their iman. Iman will suffer because of it. Unfortunately, I don't know much nourishing environments or what's called a land of Islam we have left, other than the Haramain or some of those pockets of things. But if you don't have that environment that you can make hijrah to, guess what? You're supposed to create it where you are. If you don't have a place where you can make hijrah to, because if you told me, ya akhi, you're supposed to make hijrah to the Muslim lands, I'll be like, well, show me where, buy me a ticket and I'm out. You know what I mean? No problem. But if we don't have that, in lieu of that, we're supposed to create that environment, because that's what the Prophet ﷺ did. In lieu of having an environment to nourish Muslims, he created the environment to nourish Muslims. So we have to think about creating that environment. Maybe your home should be that environment. Wallahi, if you have a home that you don't have at least one halaqatul ilm every day, your home is dead. Your home is dead. If you don't have one time where at least maybe you sit down in the morning or the evening with your children and you read a few ayat of the Quran and a few ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ, you remind each other to fear Allah. If your husband, when he leaves in the morning, you don't tell him to remember Allah. If your wife, when she goes out for whatever reason, you don't tell her to remember Allah, then your house is dead. You might as well just dig a grave and start burying yourself in that home right away. You have to have your homes to be environments to remember Allah Azza wa Jal. This would be something that a husband and a wife should do. Remember, the Prophet ﷺ said, may Allah bless the woman who wakes up in the middle of the night to pray, and she wakes up her husband to pray. And if he doesn't get up, she does what? She doesn't dump the jug of water on his head. No, she sprinkles water in his face to wake him up. And if that happens, wallahi, you should get up and make dua for your wife, because your wife is a rahmah upon you. Allah has given you a mercy in your own home. The same with, blessed be the man who gets up in the middle of the night and he wakes his wife up to pray, and if she doesn't wake up, he doesn't snatch the sheets out from under and toss it on the floor. No, he sprinkles her water with face and tells her to get up and remember Allah. This is how the home is supposed to be. So we need to create that environment for our children, inshaAllah, and for ourselves and for our families. We have to make our homes that first place of nourishing. You can't expect the Sunday school at the masjid to do all the work. Because what happens is you drop them off at Sunday school, and what do? You go shopping and do this and that. And so what do? They learn your example. That look, I only have to go to this while I'm young. As soon as I get old, I can drop my kids off and I can go out and do my business. No, we need to nourish that iman in our children. Because children are going to inherently repeat the behavior of the people who raised them. They're going to repeat that behavior. That's the way they're infused to do so. They are infused to do as you do, not as you say.